Hi, my name is Rory Cardona. I'm a personal trainer out of Toronto, Canada. And in today's video, I'm going to discuss with you how to easily set up the portions of your plate without needing a scale or even counting calories. So let's get right into it, okay? So the first thing we want to do is we want to determine a baseline, okay? So we're gonna start on the left side here with men. So under carbs, we wanna use 1 to 2 cupped handfuls, okay? So a cupped handful is how much you could fit on your hand. So that'll be 1 to 2 for carbs. Veggies is gonna be 2 to 3 fistfuls, okay? So 2 to 3 fistfuls for veggies. They're both, veggies is also a type of carb, of course. Protein, 1 to 2 palms, okay, the size of your palm. And fat is gonna be 1 to 2 thumb sizes for the thumb, okay? Over here for women, it's gonna be a little bit less, assuming that women are just slightly smaller than men. You know, that's a generalization, but generally speaking, so it's gonna be 1 to 1.5 cupped hand sizes. Veggies is gonna be 2 fists. Protein is gonna be 1 palm, your palm. So this is specific to your hand, okay? And the fat's gonna be 1 thumb. Now that we have the baseline set up for portions, we want to take a look at the next step here, and that's keeping track of our data. Okay, so this is going to be very important. That way when we're, 4 weeks, 6 weeks down into our nutrition plan, do we have good data to see where we need to make changes if we hit our goals, if we didn't hit our goals, if we're kind of plateauing, things like this. We need to look at this data the way we know where we need to make adjustments. So the first thing is going to be keeping track of a food journal. That's going to be very important. We need to know what it is that you're eating, okay? This is going to be super important. That way when we do decide to make some tweaks, whether we need to increase protein, increase your carbs, increase fat or decrease, or even just keep it the same, we know that we've been doing a certain habit or practicing a certain habit because we keep track of it with the food journal, okay? Again, we want to keep track of this every 4 to 6 weeks. We want to make some tweaks to it. This is a general rule of thumb. You can make tweaks earlier, but as long as you keep track of this data, that will be very important. The next thing is keeping track of your weight before, after, if you've gained weight, if you lost weight. This is all going to be more determined on your goals. Obviously the food journal as well. When we make tweaks to the food journal, it's all dependent on your specific goals. So we want to look at before and after pictures. That's a way of keeping very efficient data. Tape measurement. So tape measurement is going to be very important. Have we increased in size? Have we decreased in size in terms of losing or increasing inches? And the last thing is our exercise log. Are we keeping track and proper track of how many reps, how many sets we are doing in our exercises, what exercises we're doing, what type of rest we're taking, intensity. By intensity, I mean the load that we're using in our exercises. So once that's once you're keeping good track of what it is that you're doing, and you're having good data, then we move on to reevaluating, right? So after 4 to 6 weeks, we want to reevaluate what it is that we're eating. That's going to be very important. The way we could see if we're moving the needle in the right direction towards, are we getting closer to our goal or are we getting further away from our goal? Okay, so that's going to be very important here when we're reevaluating. We always want to check with our goals, right? The goals that we set previously, okay? Do we need to tweak our portions, right? If we're not getting closer to our goal, okay, so what do we need to do to tweak our tweak our nutrition? That way we start moving the needle in the right direction. We're actually heading to our goals, whether that's weight loss, gain muscle mass, lean out, you name it. We could tweak it here with our nutrition, okay? And the consistency, right? Are we being consistent with our nutritional guidance here, right? Like, are we following these rules when we're setting up our plate, right? And something that I didn't write in here that I think is very, very important, and I should discuss that now, is the 80-20 rule. Let me write that here. The 80-20 rule. So this is a very important rule to keep in the back of your mind. Why? Because no one is going to be able to have perfect nutrition 24/7. This is impossible, right? I mean, I'm sure there's some people that can do it. I can't do it. I know many people that can't do it successfully. I know some people that can. But generally speaking, you want to find the 80-20 rule. So that means that 80% of your meals are going to be bang on. And 20% of your meals are going to be whatever it is that you want, obviously within some reason. So for example, if, just to keep the math simple, let's just say you're having 1 meal a day, right? Let's just do 2 meals a day, for example, right? So you have, there's 7 days in the week, that's 14 meals, right? So 80% of those meals need to be bang on following these specific rules. Obviously, what it is that you're eating is going to be very important too, but we're keeping track and we're staying honest with ourselves using the 80-20 rule. And then the other 20% is you eat whatever it is that you want, right? Mind you, you're not just like going to it all you can eat and, you know, eating like 5 meals in one sitting. That doesn't fall under the 20% rule, but you are eating something fun, something that you haven't eaten in a while. That's where the 80-20 rule will come into play. Priorities, right? Like, are you not hitting your goals? Why? Why is it? Now that's when we have to analyze ourselves and be honest with ourselves. Are our goals of keeping track of our nutrition, eating a certain way, losing weight, increasing our health, whatever goals they are they high enough on our priority list? If they are not, then maybe we need to reevaluate something. And now the last thing that we're gonna cover here are just things to consider that are going to be very important, in my opinion, and that will dictate whether you are successful in keeping track of your nutrition, hitting your goals, or if you are not, right? So the first thing, can you cook? That's very important. If you wanna be successful in this, you should at least be able to make some very basic meals and be able to repeat that day in and day out, right? Whether that means that you have to meal prep ahead of time, that could be a great way. Or if you just prepare them on the same day, whatever you find best and whatever works best for your schedule. Now, what if there's a learning curve? Well, do you have time to learn how to cook? You know, some people are very, very busy, and the answer is no. Well, there's some alternatives. You know, there's meal delivery services that provide healthy alternatives without exactly breaking the bank. So that's going to be very important. That leads to number C here, or letter C, budget. If you have some kind of a budget, then maybe a meal delivery service might not be feasible. It might be, or it might not be. So these are things that you need to take into consider when you're implementing some of this stuff. The next thing is your daily activity levels. Are you a sedentary person or you're an active person? Okay, so if you have a desk job, then you would be sedentary. Now that's going to determine how much calories you're burning every day. If you're sedentary, you're not gonna be burning much calories. You're just sitting on the computer doing what it is that you have to do, versus somebody that's active, like an athlete, for example. An athlete is training 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day, so they're burning just a lot more calories daily. So they're going to eat a lot more than somebody that's inactive. Okay, so that's also going to be very important in determining how many portions, not portions, but how many meals you're having in the day, right? And actually portion size to some extent too will be determined by this as well. Like, an athlete is not gonna eat, this is not enough. You know, for one meal, this is not enough for an athlete. You know, they need to at least eat two palms of protein. The fat will probably be a bit higher, and the carbs are just gonna be a little bit higher. And obviously it also depends on the type of athlete, but generally speaking, that won't be enough. Time, and by time I mean, are you dedicated to your goals for the long run? And are you not looking for the shortcut to reaching your goals? Because I'll tell you this right now, shortcuts do not exist, and you need to be willing to put in time and effort in order to reach your goals, okay? So a good analogy that I use with some of my clients in the past and currently is, using the pages of a book analogy. So if you were to start today with your nutrition, think of it as one page in your book. After 365 days, now you have 365 pages in your book. Now you have a very thick book of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? So I totally butchered that metaphor, but I think you get the point, is that every day you're slowly getting closer and closer to your goal, as long as we're consistent, okay? The next thing here is you're gonna want to experiment. And by experimenting, I mean the actual types of carbs, types of veggies, types of proteins, types of fats that you're consuming or not consuming. Okay, so you're gonna wanna play with this. You're also gonna wanna play with timing, right? Like when it is that you're eating your meals. Are you doing something like intermittent fasting that many people have a lot of success with? So don't be afraid to experiment. That's gonna be very, very important. Everyone's gonna be different, and the only way for you to learn what works for you and doesn't work for you is for you to try stuff, document it, have your data, and you can look back at it and see what worked and what did not work. And the last thing, which I think is super, super important, is do not be afraid of failure, right? Be afraid of not getting started, right? So yeah, the most successful people in the world are not afraid of failure. As a matter of fact, they learn because of their failures, okay? So don't be afraid to try something. Let's just say you start, following this specific portion control, and you're keeping track of data, you're doing great, you're 2 weeks in, and then a week you completely screw up and you're not keeping track of anything, and you're not even following this. It's okay. Pick back up the following week, right? It doesn't matter how many times you fall off the horse. What matters the most is how many times you get back up and get on the horse. So with that, I'll wrap this video up. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.